It's my birthday, and I'll cry if I want to. I'll cry if I want to. On this day, on October 15th, 1960, a boy was born, a baby boy. He weighed 5 pounds and 12 ounces. He was born in Savannah, Georgia, in a military installation, an Air Force base. He had an older brother, Michael, and his yet-to-be unborn younger brother, Mark. He lived in Savannah until he was 3. And then he moved to Germany with his family, all 3 boys born in the same place. And they all started school, with the exception of Mark, in Germany. My first year of school was in Bitburg, Germany. Mrs. O'Reilly, she's the only school teacher I remember. Then we came home to the United States. 2nd grade was spent in San Antonio, Texas. 3rd grade was spent in Anniston, Alabama. I went to a one-house schoolhouse. It was called Parkwood. All the 2nd graders went to the same room. And I remember a glaring memory when an African-American woman came to school to teach, and everybody was acting like it was an outrage, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Because I grew up in an interracial culture. I'd already been in an interracial culture. I remember in the 2nd grade that I remember being on the bus, and there was an African-American kid, a little chubby kid, and a Mexican-American kid. And we were just hanging out together. We didn't think of each other as anything. We were just kids. 4th and 5th was the first years I spent in the same place. And I remember, the 3rd grade I was in Alabama. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I did break my nose at that time. That was pretty traumatic. 4th and 5th was in Abilene, Texas. By that time, I'd started my singing career in church, and things had taken off. And it was kind of a gloom descending on me. It wasn't as much fun anymore. Everything before that seemed fun and happy. And then we moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and I just remember the bitter cold. But then I started realizing at that time that I wasn't a child anymore, and I was going to become something else. You know you do. You know you're going to, but you didn't feel it. I felt it. The next years were in Blytheville, Arkansas. That's the last time that we lived in the military installation. My father retired from the military in 1975. His statement was he didn't want to go to the Philippines. He was scared. I think that he was scared of something different than what he said. So then he retired, and we were going to go to Memphis, Tennessee. He told everybody that we were going to Memphis, Tennessee in December of 1975. And then when he woke up, he decided that he didn't want to go to Memphis. He wanted to go to Alabama. So we spent 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, 4 years in Alabama. That's where I graduated high school. That's the first place I kissed a girl. First place I got a car. First place I drank beer. First place I smoked marijuana. All of that. Then we moved back. Then we finally moved to Memphis. Stayed there about a year and a half. I had a DUI in 1979. I had my first brush with the law. And I was working full time. Wasn't really happy. That was the first time I was really miserable. Then we moved to Arkansas and started college. I had a really terrible thing happen to me, which I might talk about somewhere else. But that's when I started college. It was my first major diet. I started working out, getting in shape, and I was introduced to the wonderful world of pussy. And it was good. As they say, it was good. Then I went to college. Then we stayed there for the first 2 years. Then I went to Texas, finished college, got married to a little Chinese girl, and that was the happiest time of my life. I had the illusion of being in love. the illusion of sameness with someone who was very different from me. And it was happy for a while, and then it just turned into a big fucking fight. Frustration. Because that's when I first got the feeling I finished college. It's December 1985. I was happy for a few minutes. And then I realized that it wasn't like I thought it was going to be. And I was miserable. But I had a beautiful wife. And I made the best of it. And we had conflict. But there was still a lot of attraction for each other. So there was some happiness. So then I just decided, let's go to California, and we left. I had some friends out there. We went to the Bay Area, and I moved to San Francisco, California. In 1987, I met the best friend of my life, a guy with the initials RF. He's talked me through all kinds of stuff. He's been my buddy. He knows who he is. And I stayed in San Francisco. Then we bought a house out in the Bay Area, way down deep into the into the East Bay. That didn't work out. We stayed there about 2 years. I had my first real corporate job. I had a company that was based out of Ohio, and I had a lot of success there. And then I just decided to fuck all that up. Then we moved to Alabama. I got a good job, and my wife at the time decided she didn't want to stay in Alabama, and she screwed that all up for me. Then I went back to Fresno, which it has some benefits to it, but I stayed there from 1989 to 2009, and not a very happy time. I'm glad it's over. I mean, there was a lot occurred. I had a great job while I was there. I was in farming, which was great, and I did a lot. I accomplished a lot there. I had 2 kids. I had 1 child when I got there, who's been a bitter disappointment, by the way. My first child is a bitter, bitter, bitter disappointment. But anyway, I think I'm more bitter about him than I am about my wife. You know, because I was very abusive to her, and I don't blame her. I don't blame her. I don't think what she did and how she's handled it right, but I don't blame her. So anyway, I'm here in Fresno, and then I was in 2009. I wasn't making any traction, so I moved to San Diego for 2 years. I had a bunch of jobs. I got fired like 3 or 4 times, but I could always get a job. I could always make just enough to stay out of the poorhouse. So then a buddy calls me back to come to Fresno for a tremendous opportunity, and that was a bust. That was a bust. So lucky for me, I made enough during my good times to be able to get an unemployment check. So my unemployment ran out in April of 2013, and then I started in the roofing business. And then in the roofing business, I've been to 35 states, and I sold in like 9 of them. I don't want to catalog them all. Okay. Mississippi, Wisconsin, Colorado, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Ohio, Mississippi. I think that's most of them. I might have repeated them. But I went to a lot of places, worked a lot of places. And in 2014, I came to work for what I'm doing now, which is basically reading on a 9th grade level a pitch that the National Rifle Association approves. And I'm very dramatic and very powerful, and I enjoy it. And I don't really know whether I'm part of the problem or part of the solution, but I'm having a good time. And I'm happier than I have been in a long time. I make money. I have a place to live. I have a car. People like me. I have some girls that like me. And I like them somewhat. But I don't like them as much as they like me, or they're just better fakes than me. I would tend to think it's the second, that they're faking better than I am. Because in the end, we're all alone. We're all alone. Like that song goes, you know, I will make you hurt. You are somewhere else. I'm still right here. As Mr. Johnny Cash said in that song that he didn't write, but he owns. And if I could start again 1,000,000 miles away, I would lose myself. I would find a way.